Speaking of pay-per-views and big WWE events, part of this big WWE event strategy seems to be to reserve Roman Reigns matches for the very big shows. And someone took the time to come up with this statistic. I did not take the time to find out who that was to give them proper credit, but somebody brought up that Roman Reigns has only wrestled 11 matches in 2023. So, do we think that this is a good strategy for WWE to have this guy that, you know, you only see wrestle once every few months or once a month, maybe at most? Or does his absence hurt the company?
Well, it's a hard thing, right? And because you know, we've talked about it a lot too. You've built Roman into this monolithic thing, right? Where it's like no one's going to unseat him. So in a way, it kind of makes sense that he wouldn't be hanging out day to day, because like, what's he got to do?
Yeah.
You know, like if he doesn't have to fly to the show, why would he? So I kind of understand that, but at the same time, you know, you want to see people, you want to see the top guys. You want people to be accessible as your champions, because otherwise you get into the, like, you know, does SmackDown really even have a champion at this point, or is it just Gunther?
Well, no, it's Roman,
Raw, but
yeah,
you know what I
he's
mean?
never on the show.
Exactly. And then you look at Seth Rollins, who's trying to elevate that heavyweight title, you know, and then I'm like, well, okay, so maybe Roman staying away does elevate the heavyweight title, and that's part of the strategy. But I don't know, it's strange. I know Triple H at one point had said that it was always his vision to kind of see long runs of champions, and like the champion didn't have to be on every pay-per-view, and it kind of like meant that the rest of the card had to step up, because if someone wanted that spot, it was open essentially.
Yeah.
You know, and so I get that, you know, they want to make the championship an event.
Yeah.
But then why wouldn't they do the same thing with Seth, if that's, you know, the way kind of thing? Like, it's just it's strange.
Well, this is my headcanon. Actually, no, it's not even my headcanon. It's Triple H's canon, so it's canon.
Yes.
Okay, so when Triple H introduced the World Heavyweight title, he kind of explained why, right? When, like, it was on Raw or something or other, and he said, "Look, like, Roman has it negotiated into his contract that he only has to defend the title one, you know, every a few times a year or whatever." And so the idea with the World Heavyweight title is it goes back to that old rule, like, you got to defend this every 30 days, or it's or you vacate it. So, like, the headcanon to me is like, these two title belts have different sets of rules, right? This is the title for people who only wrestle so often, you know, that they can win this too. So you can get your part-timers in on this.
It's the seniors title.
It's, you know, The Rock comes in, he can challenge for it. You know, Logan Paul challenged for it. So it's like your big star championship. And you only get like 4 title matches with it a year, right? But then Seth Rollins is defending it, you know, multiple times leading up to a pay-per-view and things like that. So, like, so that's why the 2 different titles exist. I kind of agree with Triple H in the idea that the fewer title changes you have, the more important it is when a title change occurs. And I think we got the idea of world title belt changes got a little diluted in the late, or actually more so in the 2000s. After WCW had died, and you had Raw and you had SmackDown, and WWE had 2 world champions. That's where it's just a little too easy to have a bunch of title changes when you got 2 champions, right? And so even the idea of being a champion got kind of watered down a little bit. And you have former world champions in WWE, like Jack Swagger is a former world champion, so, and then you had world champions who were given the title, but the other champion was like the bigger star and always portrayed
Yeah.
bigger. So it kind of diluted the world title thing a little bit. And if you reduce the amount of title matches and the amount of title changes, when somebody does win it, it just feels that much more special. It feels like your home team won the championship.
Yeah.
You know, like a big accomplishment. You're there, you're seeing something that you might not see again for years.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I completely get it. And that's why it's a hard thing to say like what the balance should be.
Yeah.
Like, because you do want to have your top guys like around,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, like you say, the more time elapses between potential, defenses and changes, then the bigger it can be perceived. Just it always seemed like, and WWE is great at utilizing their two shows to have their cake and eat it too, because they have one of each now. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out which one ends up being more important.
Yeah, that's definitely what they're trying to do is having their cake and eating it too. So like as opposed to just having cake, right? Like if you're a collector of cake, which
Oh
many people are, but
man.
this you can eat it as well. So just on the Roman Reigns thing, is there any like did we come to a conclusion? Is it good to have a part-time champion, or is it bad to have a part-time champion, or do we feel like WWE is doing well at eating cake?
Well, they're doing well at eating cake.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they're doing terrible at eating cake. Anytime you see a cake on wrestling programming, you know someone's getting their face smashed into it. So, they're not doing great at eating cake. But, to me, they're playing it too far apart in terms of like Roman's title is so far above Seth's.
Yeah.
That you're making that sort of workhorse title, the workman's title, seem not prestigious in its own right, but definitely seem lesser to the other one. And at the same time, though, your long game with Roman is exactly that. So maybe it's just weird and I think about things too much.
Well, it definitely hurts the prestige of Seth's title, right? Because it appears as though this is the title for the people that couldn't beat Roman. But like I don't know, like I don't know if you get that same feeling of like, hooray, he did it if somebody beat Seth for that title. Like Cody Rhodes doesn't finish the story by winning that title. He finishes the story by winning Roman's title. Sami Zayn doesn't do what he didn't do at Elimination Chamber last year by winning Seth's title. He does that by winning Roman's title. So but on the other hand, like I completely understand why they have it there. I just think Seth's world title is quite possibly the most diluted world title of all time.
You say diluted or deluded?
Both. It is both. That works for both.
And like I don't behoove them having to. Like I didn't hate it when the world heavyweight title was on one show and the WWE undisputed title was on the other.
Fine.
I didn't hate it or whatever, but I can also see wanting to grow this global brand a little bit more. Whereas when you start having international ones and then they have world titles, you still want that WWE title to be number one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This may be a question that less oiled people might have a take on, but for now, we'll never know.
We'll never know. Okay, well, let's just sort of live with that uncertainty.